Hi, welcome to Comcast Newsmakers. I'm Paul Lisnek. We're coming to you from the state capitol in Springfield. Good chance to catch up with our elected representatives. And yes, it's budget time, but you know, elections on everybody's mind. And I've got one senator who's willing to talk about it all. Say hi to Senator Jason Barickman from the 53rd District. And it's good to see you again. You always give of your time.
Thanks for having me.
So listen, the discussion in this election year is, do we keep a flat tax? Do we go to a graduated income tax? Democrats say the graduated or progressive tax makes sense. Rich people pay more. People that aren't pay less. What's wrong with that?
Well, what's wrong with it is Illinois has a spending problem. And so as much as the Democrats want to say that if they just tax the rich, they can solve all of our problems, the reality is we just came through a tax increase. Even that tax increase results in continued pressure. What we need to do is cut spending, reform our government, not tax people more. Instead, make the reforms necessary that will allow our economy to grow. Make sure, you know, we have many businesses and business owners throughout our state who say, look, we want to stay here. We have people from out of state who want to move here. We need to create an environment that attracts those jobs that we need to grow our economy, not simply think we're going to tax our way out of all of our financial costs.
You know, when we talk about cuts, Senator, you know, 90% of the budget is court mandated, you know, when it's all said and done. So you're left with this small amount, and oftentimes those cuts hit social programs that people go, what are you doing? These are, you know, poor people. So is it really in the cuts, or is it really in finding new revenue?
Well, look, I don't subscribe to the notion that we're on autopilot for 90% of our spending. We are, unless we make some of the necessary changes. I think we need to make those changes. If you look into our Medicaid program, our pension systems, there are changes that require legislative action. We need a majority of lawmakers to come together in agreements to reform these systems and thereby drive down the costs of them. Thus far, we've hit nothing but roadblocks. Of course, Madigan runs the legislative process here. He is the block on any of our reform proposals that we try to advance through the legislative process. So as long as he's in place, I think our reforms are challenged to get done, but that doesn't mean they're not necessary, and it doesn't mean we ought not try to do that.
And certainly Republicans put up that anti-Madigan argument all the time. I understand it. Yet we just had a series of primaries, and I'm pretty sure Madigan did just fine with regard to all of the people he wanted to support. So it's as though he's a power wall that can't be dented.
Well, the dent to him comes through his caucus. There are Democrat lawmakers throughout the state, whether it be in the suburbs, downstate, and elsewhere, where those lawmakers, I think, represent constituents who want to see our state make progress. They want to see economic reforms be enacted. And those lawmakers are hiding behind the curtain of Madigan. They're blaming him too. And the people in those districts ought to call those lawmakers out and say, look, whether Madigan's in place or not, we need you to stand up for our state. We need you to help us advance these economic reforms, because if you're unwilling to do that, then our state suffers.
If the governor's reelected in November, do we face 2 more years of budget stalemate like we had in his first term?
I hope not. You know, and for my part, I'm going to advocate that not be the case. I think there's real pressure that will exist on both sides to be reasonable with one another, to come to an agreement on the budget. I think we came through for all the darkness of the last 3 years in our state. Last year we made progress on a budget, controversial as it was. We made advances on our school funding system. I think those are examples of where you've seen Republicans and Democrats work together. I think we can do that as we move forward.
As you know, some polls currently show J.B. Pritzker ahead of Rauner at this time. That doesn't really mean much at this point. But looking ahead, if you're Governor Rauner, Democrats and Republicans are going, we gave you 4 years, you didn't do anything, why do you get another 4?
Well, first of all, the governor needs to talk about the reforms, the things that he has been able to do, whether it be administrative actions that he's taken that have streamlined, saved people money, whether it's the bipartisan education bill that he really helped lead on. These are victories that came about through our divided government with his leadership. He needs to talk about that. The areas where he hasn't been able to advance proposals are those that require legislative action, things that have been blocked by Madigan. And again, I think we ought to call out those Democratic lawmakers who on the one hand say they're for reform, and on the other hand won't ever get a vote, you know, in the Madigan legislature.
We'll monitor this with you. Thanks for being with me, Senator Jason Barickman, Senator for the 53rd District. I'm Paul Lisnek. Thanks for watching. Bye.